to know in 6 minutes starts now.
Attorney-client privilege is dead. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what President Trump just tweeted, reacting again to the FBI raid targeting his personal attorney, Michael Cohen.
That is really now in a whole new level of unfairness.
He also last night called it a disgrace. Cohen's home and office and hotel room were raided, and among the documents seized, those detailing the $130,000 Cohen paid porn star Stormy Daniels before the election to keep quiet about her claims she had sex with Donald Trump years before he was president.
Cohen's attorneys say a lot of what the FBI took is protected under attorney-client privilege, including Cohen's private communications with Donald Trump. That is significant because the FBI has special procedures to raid the offices of an attorney, and there is a very high bar to get a search warrant approved to do that.
Fox's Garrett Tenney. Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal says the raid is
probably one of the most significant, most seismic events in the Trump-Russia investigation.
And Democrats are again warning the president not to fire special counsel Mueller. The president made his comments about the raid at a meeting with advisors and military leaders discussing what he says will be a forceful response to the reported deadly chemical attack in Syria. He won't give the timing. Facebook's CEO is getting ready for 2 days of tough questions in Congress. Fox's Rachel Sutherland live in Washington.
Dave, Mark Zuckerberg is expected to tell lawmakers the buck stops with him and take responsibility for Cambridge Analytica's misuse of the data of 87 million users ahead of the 2016 presidential election. Democratic Senator Bill Nelson met with Zuckerberg for more than an hour yesterday.
You can't protect our privacy just on the basis of somebody telling you that they're going to protect it.
Zuckerberg goes before a joint hearing of the Senate Judiciary and Commerce Committees today. Tomorrow, he testifies before the House Energy and Commerce Committee. Dave?
This is Fox News. Fair and balanced.
The clock is ticking. Every day you put off buying life insurance can cost you big time. The older you get, the more you'll have to pay. And a sudden accident or unexpected illness could cause your rates to skyrocket or even make you uninsurable. Beat the clock. Call SelectQuote now. No hassle, no obligation. In minutes, you'll have a choice of your best rates from up to 10 highly rated life insurance companies. Richard, 40 years old, takes meds to control his cholesterol. Still, SelectQuote got him a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $25 a month. Under $1 a day. Don't risk your family's security another minute. Get your free quote now. Just call 800-694-1010. That's 800-694-1010. 800-694-1010. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Or price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Lawmakers are considering a bill that would provide pet owners more legal options if their pets are injured or killed. It's called Scuffles Law, and it's named after an English bulldog that died last year after grooming at a PetSmart in Flemington. Current state law only allows pet owners to recover economic damages against a party that harmed their pet. The new law would let them sue for up to $10,000. A Toms River man facing charges after he promised to live stream the sexual abuse of a child online. Police say 43-year-old David Nelson was using the messenger app Kik. Officers recovered dozens of child porn images from his computer when they raided his home. Jersey Shore Restaurant Week launches Friday. Nearly 90 restaurants in Monmouth and Ocean counties will feature discounted 3-course menus to show their stuff. Included on the menu at Social 37 in Toms River, barbecue pork belly and grits.
We put a twist on that by putting a quail egg on it, so it's kind of like your bacon and eggs style appetizer.
Check out all of the Restaurant Week specials at our website this morning. I'm Eric Scott. This is the Town Square News Network.
Still a few raindrops to go until our storm system clears the coast. We could even see an isolated shower into this afternoon. Hopefully we'll get some clearing late day today as we stay on the cool side, highs stuck around 50 degrees. Mostly clear and chilly tonight, lows in the lower to mid-30s. Fairly pleasant tomorrow, lower to mid-50s, under mostly to partly sunny skies with a bit of a breeze. The big warm-up really kicks in on Thursday, although not the prettiest day. Mostly cloudy, windy, chance for a few showers. Most highs in the mid-60s, much cooler along the coast, 70s for Friday. I'm meteorologist Dan Zero.
From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame.
I want to congratulate my friend, Harry Hurley.
You're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
It is 5 minutes past the hour. Chuck Malamut is here. This program is paid for. It is sponsored. It is presented by Chuck Malamut, the official financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program in our 27th year together. The following program that Chuck will no doubt melodiously deliver in just a moment is presented by Chuck Malamut, a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley. The information, views, and opinions expressed on this broadcast are those of Chuck and do not necessarily reflect those of Morgan Stanley or its affiliates. They are current as of the date of this broadcast and are subject to change without notice. Neither the information provided nor any opinion expressed herein constitutes a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security. This presentation is for informational purposes only. Morgan Stanley, Smith Barney member, SIPC. Chuck, how are you, my good friend?
Good morning, Harry.
And
how are you?
Thank you and Pam so much for being at our 10th annual dinner.
Harry, our pleasure. I listened a good part of yesterday's show as everyone was commenting about the event, and Mark was on and did a wonderful job. And I mean, what's incredible, I mean, from our perspective, is that we're sort of dinosaurs in the business, but there's a lot of things that we don't forget. And what I don't forget is the fact when the banquet waiter, actually took a look at the name tag or the name setting, on the table, and said, Mr. Malamut, Mrs. Malamut, what did you order? And then when they delivered, they said that again in the same name recognition, and that. You think about that environment, how hard that is, and the fact that you're in just such a few number of minutes you have to deliver the food, and
over 200 meals,
and it has to be right, and it wasn't banquet food by any way, shape, or form. And the evening, like I said, it was nothing short of magnificent. The fact that you raised $30,000. Is really incredible, and it gives you a great, it gives you a lot of, runway, so to speak, as you get up to the golf. So I can't imagine, what the number's going to be at the end of the year. But, I don't think anyone really recognizes, the effort that you and Margie, Karen and everybody else and Don puts into making this happen, because it seems seamless. There's never. You're never you're always at ease. You're never tensed up. Saying, okay, well, are they going to bring the dessert? When are they going to bring dessert? When's Brian going to start? And as a participant in that venue, it was a very, very relaxed, enjoyable evening. You delivered the goods, and I think, as I said to you over the weekend, Harry, I know you're going to get started now. But I'm not quite certain how you're going to top it. So
that's what everybody keeps saying. But in fairness, everybody says that every year. So.
Yeah, they do. But this was, I mean, the fact that you moved to resorts in Atlantic City, I think that opened an avenue that you weren't seeing before.
Almost doubled the size of the event.
And that room, probably from a capacity perspective, you could probably put another 50 people in there, maybe.
Yes, that was exactly the max that Ed and I talked about. We could do that, and we may do that next year. Actually,
yeah. So between Mark, Ed, and Mark, the key players at resorts, the facility is magnificent.
They've done a great job.
It's incredible, and. The fact that they're going to have
ballroom is a beautiful room to have an event such as ours.
It is. I mean, it started. You think about the time of day. You started daylight, ended obviously was in the evening.
You can see the wheel.
You see the wheel. From a distance. So, I think that they're going to have a pretty good summer. There's no doubt about it. I mean, they seem to firing on all cylinders, and that's really great. But The fact of the matter is that you're going to bring a couple new facilities online, and it's a matter of how much capacity can the city in fact handle. So
were you impressed by the numbers that were reported recently?
Oh, I was very impressed.
Yeah, me too.
But then being somewhat sleeping with one eye open all the time, you always think about, okay, that's what you accomplished over the past year. Now what's going to happen this year?
In days gone by, when we were in the business, additional inventory grew the business. So,
but I think that's been proven otherwise. At least,
but during a great recession and during contraction, I'm just hopeful that. Look, I believe 1 out of 2 may make it, and which one I think is going to make it.
The new.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with you on that. I didn't quite understand where you're going with that.
Yeah,
question,
I'm thinking 1 out of 2 absolutely makes it without any problem, and I believe grows the jurisdiction, doesn't just cannibalize the existing. And Mark Giantonio, I don't speak for him ever, but he spoke for himself the other day on the program. He's very bullish about additional.
Oh, he wants the neighbors.
Properties.
He wants the foot traffic. It'd be great.
Yep.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, it's hard to go it alone all by yourself. You're sort of on your own island.
Yeah. And yet they've done very well.
They've done fantastic. And the fact is that the team members in that organization, they have all bought in. And as I mentioned, the food servers, the bartender. I mean, Harry. I mean, you had a lot going on. And, we're just making the event go. I was looking more from an old hotelier's perspective, because you always think about, do you have the right people in the right positions? And I will tell you, as I told Mark, they hit a home run. And the fact that, there's so many influential people in that room that will come back to the facility.
It was a great crowd.
So it's
very, very proud of that.
It's amazing that you can get both sides of you can get the Dems and Republicans together. And I was waiting for like WWE or WWE.
Yeah, it was like hallowed ground. There was not a disagreement anywhere. It was beautiful, really in every way. We always love having those beautiful name cards with the script writing with everybody's name. I just think it looks
I was
elegant.
so looking forward to taking the centerpiece home, but I obviously...
Well, you could take the flowers. You just couldn't take the vase because we borrowed them.
Margie is a saint. God bless her.
But she did allow about half of them to go because we did own half of them. We didn't. We borrowed half. We owned half. The ones we owned... Margie, and they were our personal property, Margie did allow them to go. One other item before we get to the your market update. We saw yesterday, again, I believe, the force of nature that can be geopolitical activities. I believe that the FBI no-knock raid on the president's personal attorney, where they raided his home, his office, which is in Trump Tower on the 26th floor. They raided a hotel that he stays in at the Lowe's Regency in New York. And the markets didn't like that very much yesterday, I think.
Well, Harry, look, the market...
Because it was cooking there.
The market got off to a wonderful start. We're up, over 1.8% through the first, 4 hours. At the point in time looking to pretty much wipe out the loss that we incurred last week, which was about 1.4%. But as we got to the end of the day, the S&P rolled over at around 2 o'clock, erasing about 2/3 of the advances that we put in earlier in the day. So by the time we got to 4 p.m., the benchmark was up 0.3%, and as it turns out, as you just identified, the cascade of the selling, coincided with the news that the FBI conducted, their raid on Trump's lawyer, Michael Cohen, in the Mueller probe. What is happening here is that, and as I said to you before, Friday can't come quick enough, because this Friday we're going to begin to announce earnings of a lot of the big banks, and then as we get through the following week, a lot of the S&P 500 companies, and the market needs to trade on fundamentals. The market can't continue to trade and should not continue to trade on the stories of the day. I mean, so, you think about all the headlines that have happened here. Last night before I went to bed, Harry, I watched a little bit of what was happening in China.
I know.
And
that went back and forth. They looked like they were ready to blink and make concessions, and now they're actually filing charges against the United States.
But as it turns out now, the futures are up significantly, 350 on the Dow. And so what's happening is you still continue to have this ongoing volatility, within the market. So if you kind of, take a step back and take a look at last week in particular, from peak to trough, we were down, we moved about 5%. The S&P did fall 1.4% for the week. Volatility continues to be the story of the day. A lot of discussion about a possible trade war between the United States and China. All the strategists that we follow, Harry, we think it's more bark than bite. Everything kind of got ramped up on Friday. The tensions escalated when the president, told trade representatives to consider additional $100 billion in tariffs. Technologies, industrials both fell more than 2%. During the week, consumer-related sectors, income areas held up slightly. Treasury yields, for the most part, generally rose somewhat as the yield curve did steepen somewhat. So, and again, that 10-year that we always follow right now is trading at about 2.8%. So that's pretty much what has happened over the last couple of days. But I think what's happening here, Harry, if you want to try to trade the market, this is certainly not a good time to try to begin that process, because in a matter of minutes, the market can go the wrong way. And, you don't want to get constantly whipsawed, because that's what we're seeing here. And if we go back and we look at client accounts, Harry, for the first quarter, or through the beginning of April, I mean, year to date, they're virtually at a standstill. Mm-hmm. They're maybe down 1, maybe down 1.5%, and the same thing holds true, with the S&P 500. I mean, we haven't had, year to date, we made that big run up in January. We challenged it back in February and March, and as we look at it right now, year to date, going into yesterday, the S&P was down 2%. The Dow Jones was off 2.6. The Nasdaq was actually, positive, up 0.5%. And internationally, we've seen better results than we've seen here domestically here in the U.S. So, we have situations where, oftentimes, clients, investors, always get sort of wrapped up in the news. You need to kind of step back. You need to reassess what you're trying to accomplish.
The Mueller probe and the raid of the president's personal attorney and the fatigue of this going on and on and on is a big culprit or is it more the president's aggressive trade policy? Maybe it's all of it.
I think it's all of the above. And if you take, what happens is the market of late has been focusing on, one news story and trading as a result of that. And like I said, we were sleeping last night, and there was a speech that was made in China, and it's basically saying, I'm going to see what's President Xi is going to, not that he's necessarily going to back off, but it seemed as if they seem to be more friendlier now than they were say a week ago. So if you look at what's happening, with Trump and Mueller, I mean, the initial headline in the market reaction was obviously pretty ugly, but it's really not clear, what this really means for the market or the economy. So, it's not hard to figure out what they're trying to accomplish here. A path to impeachment is tough, and ultimately requires the Democrats to get the House.
Which they're favored to do.
Yeah, and for the Republicans in the Senate to truly distance themselves from Trump.
I actually think the path to impeach the president is more likely than not. I think the Democrats are going to win the midterm and that they will impeach the president. He will not be convicted. But I don't agree with that market research that the path is tough. They just need the majority, and they appear to be poised to do it.
Well, but you know what's happening here, Harry. Trump's in spite of all this, Trump's approval ratings, continue to climb despite the rise of news flows, surrounding Stormy Daniels and other like.
Republicans impeached Bill Clinton with a 65% approval rating. Brief time out. We're going to come back in a few minutes. Chuck Malamut continues. I'm Hurley in the Morning. This is WPG. This is Harry Hurley, and I'm with the Mayor, Charles Kane, owner and operator of the Auto Plaza, Egg Harbor Township. Mayor, tell your listeners who are looking for a car, why should they choose the Auto Plaza?
Harry, it's our full-service department, selection, and hassle-free financing alternatives that have set us apart for over 17 years. Over the years, we've been the recipient of many sales and service awards, as well as receiving an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau. It's been a real honor for us. We are now serving a second generation of sales and service customers. Stop in today. You're going to love our staff and experience what makes us different.
For all of your automobile service, parts, and sales needs, call the Auto Plaza at 609-646-2447. That's 609-646-2447. And visit us on the World Wide Web at myautoplaza.com.
The Auto Plaza at English Creek. Roll with Mr. Tire.
When the need for senior care arises, there's no place like home. Your loved ones should never have to give up living at home. Visiting Angels will provide home care for your mom or dad at home up to 24 hours per day, including personal care, meals, and light housework. You'll select your professional caregiver with Visiting Angels. Look up visitingangels.com or call 877-374-LIVE. That's 877-374-LIVE. Franchises are available. Visiting Angels, America's choice in senior home care.
How many times a day can you fuel up and go at CVS Pharmacy? Let's find out. It's 8 a.m. and you're leaving the gym. You head to CVS to refuel and boom, 2 for $6 Belvita breakfast bars. That afternoon, the slump hits. Vending machine? Nope, CVS, where boom, $2.49 Special K Nourish Bites. Finally, it's 5 p.m., so you hit CVS before the commute and boom, 2 for $3 Think Thin Bars. Stop by CVS Pharmacy and fuel up and go on smarter snacking and beverage options. Restrictions apply. See cvs.com/weekly ad for details.
This is Harry Hurley for All Season Solar, our official and exclusive solar energy provider to the Hurley in the Morning program. They design and they install the most attractive, efficient, state-of-the-art solar photovoltaic systems from the world's leading manufacturers. What I love about dealing with All Season Solar, they're your single point of contact. They do the system design, engineering, your building permits, installation, and the ultimate glorious utility connection day. They take care of everything under the sun so that you can sit back and reap the savings. Call Frank Neal today, 609-317-5491. That's Frank Neal, All Season Solar, 609-317-5491. There's never been a better time to go solar. The benefits are there. New Jersey leads the East Coast and second largest in the entire United States in terms of solar energy panel installation. No deposits, no hidden fees, no out-of-pocket costs. All Season Solar. Tell them Hurley in the Morning sent you.
Your next chances to win up to $5,000 are coming up at 12:30 and 5:30 this afternoon.
We just won $5,000. Thank you.
Win Harry Hurley's money, powered by Franklin Bank with WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
23 minutes past the hour. Chuck Malamut, the official financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program, continues. Chuck.
So, Harry, one of the items on today's agenda we wanted to talk about, we sort of briefly did chat about trade issues, the global economy, and where we stand, within the financial markets. So, if you kind of take a look at it, what is happening here is that, our President Trump has constantly indicated that he believes tariffs on imports are good for our country, and he's surrounded himself with a number of advisors who also, support, having that protectionism, process. So he's, obviously now set his sights on China, and it appears that the trade-related issues will be rattling the markets for some time. Trade issues, could in fact spill over into broader geopolitical escalation between the U.S. and China. So that's something we need to think about. But as we kind of look ahead, and I think it was evidenced last night, as the process is starting, we expect both the U.S. and China to follow sort of a dual strategy with respect to trade. Publicly, what we think what is going to happen, leaders will engage in this, ongoing, rhetoric, and the headlines will end up, increasing the threats of this escalating trade war. We think what's going to happen here, Harry, you'll probably have some quiet negotiations. They'll continue as these countries, we do seek somewhat of a compromise. You think about it, the tariffs don't take effect until June. So there's a lot of time for the parties to sort of hammer out a deal.
When you say the tariffs don't take effect until June, are they the ones the president is talking
Yes.
about? Because the Chinese put theirs right into effect.
No, the ones the president announced, they're talking June.
Yeah, they
but,
have not even gone into
But
effect.
if you look at steel and aluminum, I mean, they went in first. And what happened, the next round may end up being less restrictive than it was originally announced. So I think that what is happening, the market just focuses on the headline and the news story of the day. And as a result of that, we have to be, Harry, I think what we have to do is kind of take a step back here.
This
because
is as you patiently wait for real earnings to
yeah,
get them off of this
so
sideshow.
what's happening, tariffs are always negative and effectively, act as a tax that makes it more difficult, for all of us to interact, the producers to interact with consumers. But the scope of the current issues, that are on the table right now are pretty contained. So think about this for a second. Announced actions between the U.S. and China amount to less than $150 billion. Let's compare that to the U.S. tax cuts that total $200 billion. Let's also compare that to the fact that Congress, recently authorized $100 billion in additional spending, and we anticipate, U.S. companies are going to continue to repatriate close to $500 billion in overseas profits.
So what you're saying is this is really very small in the big
scheme of things.
But why does it have a disproportionate impact then?
Well, Harry, think about it here. What else is there to focus on right now?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and that's why, as I said to you, it seems like I'm kind of a broken record, but I think I've said it to you a number of times. I can't wait till we get to earnings, because the market
Which
truly
is soon, right?
It starts in earnest on Friday with the big banks.
Right.
So what is happening is that maybe we can begin to focus on the fundamentals that really drive and should drive the stock market, and not the news stories of the day.
Now, I don't want to say be careful what you wish for, but if the earnings aren't good, then that's not a good thing.
Well,
but they're expected to be good, aren't they?
Earnings, yes, earnings are expected to be, in line with projections as far as what the analysts are chatting about. I think what's going to happen, Harry, is like anything else. You're always going to have an outlier or two where a company ends up reporting earnings in excess of anticipation, and you're also going to see companies that are going to get punished, sort of taken out to the woodshed if they in fact do not make their numbers. So but all indications are top line, bottom line should be in line and better than what we've seen in the past. So but I think the most important thing, Harry, with respect to the equity markets, right now, is it's what's happening, with the economy. Let's think about this for a minute. Investors right now are focused on several downside risks. They're, what's happening today in Washington. Mark Zuckerberg is going to be testifying.
He's going to wear a suit today, Chuck.
We did talk. We did talk about that over the weekend.
T-shirts are hanging in the closet.
He's dressing appropriately. It'll be interesting to see how he in fact handles himself. But
how you never talk about any one particular stock, but is it fair to say that Facebook has gotten hammered since all of this started?
No, I don't know if they got necessarily hammered. It's just a matter of were they in fact operating correctly, and what was happening with the information. And I think it's like anything else, Harry. I think that, they got maybe what they had coming to them, when you think about it.
I do. I agree with that. 87 million Americans have basically been violated.
Yeah,
That's
so let's think about this for a second. So let's go back to the market and economic growth. So investors are focused on several downside risks. The mega cap tech sell-off that we've seen. What happened with Facebook, what happened with Amazon, what happened with a lot of the big tech names. Central bank is continuing to potentially tighten. The White House staffing is obviously somewhat in turmoil, and then the ongoing Mueller investigation, which now is taking a whole turn in a different direction. I don't think anyone had really expected to have happened, but we think, in our view, a potential period of economic weakness may be the most serious event facing stocks here. So we think in this country we're more likely getting to maybe a temporary soft patch as we get in through the rest of the year. And as a result of that, I think we have to be very conscious of looking at the economic data that comes across and what, in fact, will happen, with it when you look at the Fed.
Halftime break. We're going to be back in 1 minute and 58 seconds. We run a tight ship around here. I could have said 2 minutes, but I'm the truth in broadcasting. Chuck Malamut continues Your Financial Matters. More straight ahead.
Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons at 3.
All right, Tuesday edition Sean Hannity Show. The very latest, Robert Mueller running rogue, a runaway train. Now it's a porn star. Forget about Trump-Russia collusion. We will outline the double standard that is breathtaking. Tuesday edition Sean Hannity Show.
Sean Hannity, weekdays 3 to 6 on WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
Paul D'Amato.
Harry Hurley.
Paul, I know our listeners want to know what's new with the D'Amato Law Firm.
Things are great, Harry. We are so privileged to represent our clients whose lives have been turned upside down because they were involved in a serious accident. We meet on a regular basis. We copy our clients on all our correspondence so they always know what's going on with their case. We try to treat them like family. We have Alexa here, my daughter. I'm so happy that she's here. We have Steve Van Natten and Casey Gifford. We're a great legal team.
They're the D'Amato Law Firm for all of your personal injury legal needs. Turn to the official lead counsel to the Hurley in the Morning program for more than a quarter of a century. The D'Amato Law Firm in Egg Harbor Township, 609-926-3300. That's 609-926-3300. Tell Paul, Alexa, Sandy, the entire team that Hurley in the Morning sent you.
When it comes to hiring, you don't have time to waste. You need to get to a short list of qualified candidates fast. That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes. Set up screener questions based on your job requirements. Then zero in on qualified candidates using our intuitive online dashboard. Your time is precious. Let Indeed help you get to your short list of qualified candidates. Post a job today at Indeed.com/hire. Search for greatness. Search Indeed.
How do you describe fun? Is it relaxing by the beach year-round at Landshark Bar and Grill? Is it a hot streak followed by frozen drinks at Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville? Is it award-winning gourmet dining and live music and over 800 new slots and all the above? Find your fun at Resorts Casino Hotel, a Mohegan Sun property in Atlantic City. And with over $100 million in new renovations, there's more fun than ever. Get started at resortsac.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hi, it's Brian Kilmeade. Join me next at 10, then Sean Hannity at 3. Now back to Harry Hurley on WPG Talk Radio 104.1, South Jersey's talk station.
33 minutes past the hour. Chuck Malamut continues all about your financial matters. Chuck, are we now to the U.S. job market?
Yeah, so Harry, you think about everything that's happened since Friday, and everyone has kind of lost sight as to what happened with the employment report. So U.S. non-farm payrolls, when you look at the number initially, Mike and I were kind of shocked. It came in at 103,000, while the prior 2-month total was revised lower by 50,000. So the unemployment rate ended up holding steady at that 4.1%. There was a lot of anticipation that it would in fact get to 4%. But what happened was wages did grow at an annual 2.7% rate. And you know what happens with potential wage growth? Now, all of a sudden, the discussion of inflation, gets back on the table. Now what happened was, you think about the winter that we just witnessed here, not only on the East Coast but across most of the country, that may have contributed to a weaker pace of hiring. And but the good news is, what we saw was the 90th straight monthly rise in payrolls.
Wow.
90th. I mean, you think, how many years has that been? 7+ years.
Yes.
It's just it's incredible. So that I think even though the number was at 103, it was, in fact, I think it was a good number to work off of. And the market, you think about it, the market didn't focus. The market did not focus on Friday with respect to the jobs report. The market focused on the tariffs. What was coming out of it, coming out of Washington. Now, with wage growth up 2.7%, as I mentioned, there's a possibility of inflation, getting back on the table. So it seems as if inflation is moving ever so slowly higher, which could in fact increase market volatility at this point in time. So with the wage growth up 2.7% year over year, consumer price, producer price data, and we just saw something come across, PPI just a minute ago is up for March 0.3 versus 0.1. We're going to watch for signs of potential inflation acceleration. So inflation's moving, Harry, from a very low to low. Shouldn't yet be viewed as a problem, but as you know, rising inflation could create somewhat of a headwind when we look at equity valuations. So again, something else that we need to think about. So I think what clients oftentimes ask us, Harry, are we at this point in time consolidating within the market, or are we in the middle of a correction?
Is that known, or is that unknown at this point?
Well,
is it a distinction without a difference almost?
It's always unknown until it's known. If that makes any sense.
It makes perfect sense.
And the fact of the matter is that we think that stocks are in the middle of a consolidation and somewhat of a correction. You think about what's happening, with the S&P 500 and the way it's traded since January. Near term, we need to obviously continue to be somewhat cautious. Since January, stocks have remained in a broad trading range. I mean, think about it: a high of 28.75. A low of 25.32, and a lot of the strategists on the street are calling for 3,000 on the S&P before year end. So we have a lot of work to do. We think that the trend is going to continue with that broad trading range, and the levels that we just chatted about could end up being the highs and the lows for the year. But we won't know that until we get through. We have 3/4 of earnings to get through, but. We have economic, corporate fundamentals remain in pretty good shape. We think the bull market's going to continue here, Harry.
Yes.
The stress in the equity markets has not necessarily spilled over into the credit markets, which is good. You think about that 10-year Treasury, it is traded very, very tight, within the last 3 to 4 months. Volatility remains pretty low in other asset classes. So, it's a positive sign that could indicate that stocks are in the midst of a regular market correction. Think about the number of corrections we have had in this long-standing bull market. I think it's 6 or 7, and Harry, on average, they range anywhere from 8 to 10%. If corporate earnings sort of took a step backwards, and we reversed ourselves, which we don't think is going to happen, then maybe you could say, okay, it's the end of the bull market. But we think, the opposite.
We are still in a bull market right now, Chuck.
I think we are, Harry. I think we are just temporarily, taking sort of a pause, focusing on items that aren't necessarily important. Let me back up. They are important, but But a true investor should focus on fundamentals and not necessarily the rumor or the story of the day. And I think what the market's doing right now, it's acting like a young, spoiled child at times, just basically throwing temper tantrums when they don't get the results that they're looking for. And I think that, the more mature market will begin to really unfold as we get to the latter part of this week. And I'm just so hoping that, Harry, when I come back next week, when we chat, that what I'm saying is in fact true. But you never know. That's for sure. I mean, because chances are, you think about when you're ready to turn left, you really need to go. You really need to turn. You really need to go right. So, but the other thing that's happening here with respect to volatility, and I know you can buy into this as the political junkie that you are. That the presidential 4-year cycle suggests volatilities could remain elevated. But there could be somewhat of a silver lining. So historically, but even though it's not a perfect guide, you do have these cyclical trends. Midterm elections, they're right around the corner. They have historically been the most volatile in the 4-year presidential cycle. So if you go back to 1962, midterm years have seen an average peak to trough decline of 18%. So we're about 12 or so. Mm-hmm. For the S&P 500. In addition, those declines have historically represented strong buying opportunities. On average, from the lows during the midterm years, the S&P index climbed 36% over the following 12 months. So I think it's like anything else. Harry, you got to buckle your seatbelt and hold on. And, chances are, if you are truly an investor and not a trader, you should be rewarded for spending time in the market. True testament, I think, for sure. One of the other things that we wanted to chat about, I put on the agenda today was, what is happening with respect. We've talked about college costs. And it just, it seems to be somewhat of a broken record, but they just continue, to go in the wrong direction. It's just nothing short of remarkable as to what's happening. I'm just looking for my stats here. Student loan debt, $1.38 trillion. I don't even know what that number means. $1.38 trillion at the end of last year. It's doubled in 8 years. Student loan debt was $690 billion in 2009. So think about the stress.
Terrible.
That puts on.
That's for those listening. 1,000 million is a billion. Then you keep going to the next zeros. $1.3 trillion, what?
1.38 trillion. So 1.4 trillion at the end of last year versus 700 billion. Somebody's paying for that.
Yeah, it's a bubble, isn't it?
Well, if it's not a bubble, it's something that you need to really be cautious of because it has an impact on housing. Mm-hmm. You think about it has an impact on credit scores.
Big time.
It has an impact on debt to income ratios.
Big time.
And then ultimately, it could. And now that if you end up with rising interest rates,
there's literally people that can't get a mortgage because that enormous 6-figure debt crushes them.
Mm-hmm.
And
exactly.
They can't get a house. Do you think? I know it's not the job of the government to bail out everything, but do you think that a bailout of all of this would be a good thing or a bad thing?
Harry, I'm not so certain that a bailout is the answer. I'm thinking that really what needs to be done, and it needs to start at the college or the university level, and that's just a reset.
See, I totally agree with that. Keep in mind, most of that debt dies with either the student or the parent.
Right, and so because
it's never going to be paid back anyhow. Because
these universities and college view it as an opportunity to continually increase tuition and additional costs, around the college experience, and the fact that, for a lot of people, a college education is very, very important. and it kind of puts the consumer on the short end of the stick here, where they're forced. They don't have a choice. They can't go back to the University of XYZ and say, look, I'm going to dispute the fact that you're increasing my tuition by 5, 6, 7%. They're going to say, okay, thank you very much. You can go find another school to attend. And because I think, Harry, and I think you'll agree with me that we have a very, very vicious circle here that we continue to go round and round and round. And did you see a solution in sight?
No.
But I don't think that the government necessarily is going to issue or should issue somewhat of a bailout. I don't think that would be a good thing to do. But I think that sort of the old adage, the buck stops here. I mean, the universities need to stop. They need to say look, we're going to keep our costs in line. For the next 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. And you think about, if you're increasing your cost by 3 to 5 to 7% a year, think about where you start college versus where you end college. And you can't, and most degrees no longer are 4 years.
Correct.
So it's kind of
it's kind of a scam.
I don't want to say.
I'm going to say it.
You can say it's a scam.
You're not gonna say it. I'm going to say it.
I'm going to say it's somewhat disingenuous. Okay.
Okay. You're so diplomatic. I love you so much. I'm going to stick with mine. It's more relatable. It's more understandable. Scam.
All right. Well, I think we're
How many years
traveling.
did it take you to graduate, Chuck?
I
Hotel
completed
School of Management.
school in 4 years.
Okay. How long does it take your children and my children? Come on, man.
More than 4. Yes,
it's a scam. And then they got these things now where even if you need like one more class, they charge you for like the whole year. It's really bad.
It's not really good. But
you know what the biggest problem that ever happened was, though? The money. It was easy money.
Well,
and when something's easy, you do it.
It still continues to be easy money.
I know. Is it a little bit more regulated than it was, though? When I was in that business, if you will, because now our children are 36, 33, and 30, you had to have – they didn't care about the credit score. All your bills had to be paid on time. That was basically it. No debt-to-equity ratio. No
now,
problem.
yeah, for sure. If you ask my nephew Jim, he'll tell you, these government loans, Freddie, Fannie, Sally, they're just really, they're not easy. You have so much paperwork and it has to be pristine. Your credit score needs to be there.
And another thing happened, Chuck. You used to either be able to put your student loan in either a deferral or forbearance, and then it did not count towards your debt to equity.
Yes.
Now, if you have 6 figures worth of debt and you're younger and trying to get your home, there's a very good chance you're just not going to qualify. Your debt to equity ratio is going to knock you out.
Let me leave you with this, because I found this to be – I was very intrigued with this stat that I came across last week. And it's all about manufacturing, because we've talked about – the president has talked about manufacturing forever and ever. So after adjusting for inflation, manufacturing output in the U.S. is up 62%. Harry, 62% over the last 30 years. However, the number of manufacturing jobs in the U.S. have declined 29% over that same 30 years, falling from 17.8 million to 12.6 million. I find that nothing short of remarkable. Think about it. Output up 62% over 30 years, and jobs have declined 29% over that same 30-year period.
And you know why?
A lot is technology.
Technology.
And so you think about, if we're able to bring those jobs back here and do the manufacturing in the U.S., what's it going to do for the economy?
Well, it'll be huge. But a lot of jobs, though, that technology have replaced will never come back. Toll takers, pretty soon even fast food jobs are going to be gone. It's all going to be automated. It's all going to be gone. And then what that means is people are going to have to either train or retrain into jobs in the higher tech and jobs that still require the human touch.
And I think, Harry, that's always going to be there. But
Like talk show host. The human touch.
Like a bank teller, imagine.
Gone.
There are bank tellers out there.
But they're going to be gone.
Cashing a check.
Gone. Now you take a picture of it and you just put it into your account.
But I think that I just wanted to leave the show on that stat, because I think, what happens is we all get sort of wrapped up in what we're doing. I mean, think about where technology was 5, 7, 10, 20 years ago. And the visionaries thinking about where we're going to be, 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. I think the country's going to look a lot different. But I think that we do have to be conscious of keeping jobs here in this country. And, right, like it or not, a lot of it's rhetoric. A lot of it, may in fact unfold. But I think that, we continue to be on the right path to prosperity here. There's no doubt about it.
Well, I agree. I think the evidence supports that very, very much. For all of your financial planning needs, turn to the official financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program, Chuck Malamut and his team. Chuck is the managing director of his group at Morgan Stanley's Northfield, New Jersey office. 609-383-2010. Very interesting program, Chuck, as always.
Harry, thanks for having me again. Wonderful last Friday night. I am so looking forward to how you're going to top it next year.
We're going to try.
I know you're going to.
And if we can't top it, we're just going to still make it great. We're going to make our dinner great again.
Great again. There you go. You got hats for everybody. There you go.
That'd be good. See you, Chuck.
Have a good day.
He's the man. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Stay with us. Mini open forum segment. So if you've been trying to get in this morning, it's been impossible, I know. 609-407-1450. Phone lines are open. We can take a call or two as soon as we come back. Atlantic City Councilman at Large, George Tibbett, I'm going to say unplugged, coming up right after the news break.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff is brought to you by Integrity Physical Therapy and Wellness and Dr. Stuart Honig of Go Feet Podiatry.
It's not something we often think about, but creating a living will is important for all of us, no matter our age. Dan Mikas, Administrator for Angelic Palliative and Hospice Care, joins us now. What is it and why do we need it?
A living will, also known as an advance directive, is a document that you put together with a healthcare professional and your family to talk about what type of services you would want in case of serious illness or injury. It's a document that gives your family peace of mind about what type of care you would want if you were no longer able to speak for yourself.
And I know you offer a free service to help people put this together. Where can they find out more?
You can go online and visit us at angelichospice.net.
All right. Thanks so much, Dan Mikas. I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff is brought to you by Integrity Physical Therapy. Put yourself in their hands and Go Feet Podiatry. Your feet will thank you.
I'm Grant Langston, the new CEO of eHarmony. If you're online dating and looking for love, you're probably tired of the lazy text messages, dead-end conversations, and matches that never turn into dates. If that's you, it's time to try eHarmony. Dating apps of one kind or another have been around a long time, but at the end of the day, they're just virtual bars where no one ever buys you a drink. eHarmony's different. We're built to help you have a better relationship, and we do that with 17 years of research and experience. eHarmony's gotten really good at bringing compatible people together. People that want the same things you do and are ready for a real relationship. Hey, it can be fun to play around with online dating apps. But when you're ready to fall in love with someone and have a meaningful relationship, there's one app that's built to bring you real love, eHarmony. Go to eHarmony.com today and get a month free when you buy a 3-month plan. Use code DATE. eHarmony.com, use code DATE.
Has your current sales job got you caught in a rut? Are you not making the money you know you're worth? It's time to tune into a new career. Town Square Media Atlantic City is adding full-time advertising executives to sell our full range of products. We're more than a radio company. We're the online advertising experts in South Jersey. Don't miss out on one of the fastest growing careers. Call Mike Rubel, Market President, at 609-645-9797 to schedule your interview. Town Square Media is an equal opportunity employer.
Hello, beautiful. I'm Amy Errett, founder of Madison Reed, a hair color company I named after my daughter. One of the things I value most in life is time. Time to spend with my daughter, time to spend with family, and the time I put into my company that's reinventing the way women color their hair. The busiest, most successful women I know use Madison Reed, the amazing hair color hack. In under an hour and for less than $25, Madison Reed delivers gorgeous, shiny, multi-dimensional, healthy-looking hair with an ammonia-free formula. You'll look like you just came from a salon, but the reality is you have more me time to do what you love. Things get busy. Let us take care of you and your hair. Find your perfect shade at madison-reed.com and get 10% off plus free shipping on your first color kit. Use code HELLO. That's code HELLO. Try it. Love it. That's the beauty of Madison Reed.
Hi, it's Brian Kilmeade. Join me next at 10, then Sean Hannity at 3. Now back to Harry Hurley on WPG Talk Radio, 104.1, South Jersey's talk station.
Thank you very much. 55 minutes past the hour. Welcome to Hurley in the Morning. You're on the air.
Yo, Harry, can you hear me?
I hear you crystal clear.
Man, that's good service. I just called in and I got on.
Well, I said that the lines were open because we had a guest and we weren't taking calls. I said first one in basically is going to be on. It's you.
New matter about the border. Can we talk about it real quick?
Yes.
Real quick. Years ago, the Uncommon Man called in mentioning that why doesn't the military secure the borders where being attacked?
Yeah.
And, of course, I understand the law that you can't use the military. I don't want that law. We're being attacked and killed by illegal immigrants and a drug war. Why can't, without repeating that it can't be used, why can't, not the National Guard, the military, that with all due respect to the military, are on bases being lazy right now, some of them, and not really working? Why aren't they just deployed with every half mile you have on a rotational basis?
Well, here's what I want to say. I wish you didn't say the part about them being lazy on a base, because they're doing very dangerous work, and no matter where they are, it's dangerous, and they're working. The military is so about structure and regimen and all of that they're always doing something. So it's not lazy. But on the bigger point, once I do that disclaimer, because I just have too much love and respect for our military, after that disclaimer, I think you're absolutely right. I think we should find a way under the Homeland Security. Look, if they can spy on Americans and violate the Constitution of the United States, they can break down doors in a no-knock raid at every location in the president's personal attorney's life and take communications between the president and his attorney, then I don't see any reason why we can't say this is a emergent threat, and we should be able to deploy the military. I totally agree with that, and I think we could.
Harry, once you're back at the base, I've been in the military for years, Harry. Once you're back at the base, you're not really that busy. So
well, remember, you could say that about firemen too. But guess what? When they're fighting fires, how about that?
Okay, so I'm a vet. Okay, move forward.
All right,
got it. No disrespect. So moving forward, I was in the military for years. When you're on duty, you're on duty. When you're back at the base, you kind of look for things to do.
Well, you need the downtime. So, it's very stressful.
Okay, so now with the National Guard, I think you're only allowed to use National Guard people legally from that state, or are you allowed to bring other state National Guards to a border that you don't belong in that state?
Well, I want to default, Mark, to what I said a little while ago. Under Homeland Security, if we can suspend the Constitution of the United States and actually eavesdrop on Americans' communications completely in violation of the Constitution, because some bullcrap law says that you have some FISA court that the government probably lies to on a regular basis in order to achieve the warrants that they get. If they can do that, then I say they use the Homeland Security, the threat to the homeland, as the reason to say that we can legally deploy the military to the southern border or wherever else we choose. See you, Chuck.
And I think that it would be like every 2 weeks of deployment where you rotate out, you're bivouac, and you use MREs, meal ready to eat rations. You stay there for 2 weeks. You're one troop every half a mile. You have total communications. You go back and forth.
Yeah, it would be like a Lancaster police officer is detailed to a casino or detailed to the boardwalk, detailed to the pageant, the boardwalk show us your shoes parade. It would be a detail. You would know when you are on duty, and I think it would stop all of this nonsense.
Yep.
I love the idea. I don't see why it's unconstitutional based on all these other liberties that the government is taking in the name of protecting the homeland. Why wouldn't this be the same? And by the way, the Democrats would go crazy. Oh, my God, they're going to send the military to the border. Oh, boo-hoo.
Right. One more quick thing. All the illegal immigrants that are building in the Down Beach area, how are they getting paid? Now, I watch the builders giving them checks every Friday. I physically watch the builders give them checks. How are they getting a check? They have no TIN number and they have no Social Security.
Well, that's what you say. If they're getting it, well, then they're cashing them at check cashing places. Or they do have one, whether it's fake or otherwise. That's easy. That's easy, Mark.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ 97.3 HD3 Millville. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now.
Councilman George Tibbett, he's next.
A total witch hunt. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. 4 familiar words tweeted by President Trump in all caps, followed by 3 exclamation points, reacting to the FBI raid targeting his personal lawyer.
It's a disgrace. It's frankly a real disgrace.
The president also tweeted, attorney-client privilege is dead. Fox's John Decker live at the White House.
President Trump calling special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation a disgrace and a new level of unfairness, and telling Fox News Radio he's